A very good morning. Welcome to this edition of Morning at NTV. It's the big story this morning, and we are looking at the role of civic society in creating public civic awareness, and the case in point being Action Aid, which has been in the eye of the storm, especially in the wake of the age limit debate. In the studio this morning, I have got with me Henry Nixon Ogwal, who is the fundraising officer, director at Action Aid. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
We are doing well.
Is Action Aid open or it isn't? Let's start from there.
Action Aid is open, but the bank accounts are closed.
How is that? Because that's an oxymoron. He's saying that they have you can't have closed bank accounts and open business. How then do you operate?
You have ever known about the existence of famine? It does not mean that everybody is dead, but that life is hard. Yes.
This comes on the heels of the fact that, you were suspected of fomenting some political discourse that was going to be divisive and extremely acrimonious, at least according to the state. The time the debate was going on in Parliament on whether or not to table the private members' bill, your offices were being raided. You were kept under siege for some time. Lo and behold, now your accounts are closed. How can you say you are open, but your bank accounts are closed and that you're operating?
Well, I think we do acknowledge that our offices were raided, cordoned and searched a day before the debate in Parliament. But we also would like to link this to not only Action Aid, because we think that police is having interest in many more civil society organizations than Action Aid alone. And it raises a very important question as to the role of civil society organizations in creating civic awareness. In fact, to be really very direct, is creating awareness on constitution and constitutionalism. You know, the Uganda's constitution of 1995 is one of the very best documents this country has ever produced in history. It creates a duty for each citizen. But this duty has not been made known well to the citizens. When that constitution was passed in 1995, we made a commitment as a nation to make everyone, every citizen, to know its content, so that one, they would protect that constitution, each article in it. But also two, that if there would be any need to discuss any, that they have the same information and understanding. That same constitution goes ahead to put a very heavy load on a citizen, that they must at all costs defend it. But now when we are raising these issues, what wrong have we done? That same constitution provides for the existence of civil society in this country. It provides for a number of regulatory framework, and laws have been made, including the NGO Bureau, which is in place, that regulates, but is also supposed to protect the civil society organizations in order that they can do their work professionally. And we have been doing that. So all the documents that have been listed that police wanted from us, which we gave, we file every year to the NGO Bureau. That is in Internal Affairs, the same ministry where police is housed. The same information have been asked again from us by the NGO Bureau. Even the time when we were cordoned and searched, they got that same information. The same, another task force in police has asked for the same information. So we don't understand why the stress, but the fact is that what Action Aid has been doing for this country, for the citizens since 1982, is on the mark. We have worked with all institutions of government, including the army. I remember when we were delivering relief in some of the IDP camps with the support of UPDF, even using UPDF helicopters to reach there and providing education to the IDP camps. ActionAid was the lead agency trusted by the government in providing leadership to develop IDP policy. Very political, but very lauded and thanked for. We have done so many things.
What do you mean very political?
No, you see, right now they are saying that civil society are becoming very political, what they should do, which is wrong.
What I'm saying is, what is political about developing an IDP policy?
It is about seeking for which resources should be allocated and action. And therefore, when you're talking about allocation of resources, when you're talking about who gives those resources, and when you're talking about politics.
That's not true.
It is. I think for what is a misunderstanding in this country is that when you talk about issues of power, which actually comes from the people, and how the people can hold leaders to account for different things, then it is taken as bad politics, which is not.
It's now taken as politics. You see, Ogwal, while I agree that civil society organizations have an incredible job in creating civic awareness, but also to a large extent subsidizing government effort in provision of social services, there is also a certain line that is clearly cut out, that involving yourself in hard knock politics as we know it, then you stop being a non-government organization. Then register and become like FDC, DP, CP, and become a political party. Ogwal, you cannot go to play football when you are a netball team. Netball has its rules and regulations, and I think NGO has its whatever. On one hand, you are providing relief aid to distressed citizens. On the other hand, you are translating a constitution to local languages. Fair enough. On the other hand, you engage in partisan agitation. That's according to what the police is saying. Do you find those allegations far-fetched, or do you actually think they're not understanding your work?
Both translated are actually correct statements if you translate them to to statements other than questions. We are being misunderstood and they are far-fetched.
Tell me how.
Number one, ActionAid and other institutions that are being investigated are registered by the government. ActionAid Uganda is a Ugandan NGO registered within the laws of this country and is affiliated to the Global ActionAid. And in its memorandum and articles of association, everything in it is exactly what we are doing, which we have not deviated off from. It includes in building the understanding of citizens' rights and responsibilities so that they can be good citizens. For instance, when we are building the understanding of a citizen that it is their role to pay tax, what's wrong with that? No. That's what we're doing. No, let me finish this because it's an example for people to understand.
Give me one example. And I've asked you, have you ever been hounded by the state for teaching citizens how to pay their tax? Has police ever picked interest in your activities in that regard?
Police.
How come the police now?
Now wait.
Listen to me. How come the police now picks interest when you begin to engage in the politics of trying to interfere with the goings on in the parliament, especially with the private members? Don't you realize that somewhere you are crossing the Rubicon?
No. I think that is the next question of misunderstanding as far-fetched. So let me go on.
You have the dice.
Now, when we are doing that you pay your tax.
No one picks it.
Now, and we're working with like URA, with the district local governments. But that is one tier of the tax campaign work, because we would want the tax payment to build onto the buffer that is used by government for providing services. That is the reason. The next tax work we will do is to say, okay, government, this is in terms of planning now. Allocate these resources appropriately to provide services to to the citizens. So
Depending
that
on their needs.
yes, that is again where you find us strong. Then the third tier, we now turn and say, well, you allocated this. How is it used? That's when anti-corruption work now comes in.
And you
now,
drive a caravan across the country.
yes, and together with the Uganda police force,
Which has not been stopped. That caravan has gone from
including
district to district.
including asking a question, a position of no vote buying, no vote selling.
Thank you. No one has picked interest.
Actually, everyone picked interest.
No, I'm talking about
good interest.
Yeah, good interest. The police
Good
hasn't
interest.
picked interest in
So I think there should be the public must be told what wrong is it that ActionAid has done, because I think things are being just twisted. That is as far as our work is concerned. As far as funding is concerned, we have a very good system in ActionAid itself of vetting funding.
Henry Nixon.
Yes, please.
Did you have any interaction with local politicians to have a conversation regarding this age limit debate that's going on?
What I can say is
Yes,
that ActionAid is a member of the coalition of civil society organizations that is working on the constitutional amendments, the Article 26 and Article 102B, and has got a position. And this position...
What is the position?
No, it's many that
especially
is built.
102B.
102B.
What's the position?
That the history of this country is littered with a lot of violence. It is documented in the same constitution that the most important thing that we should be looking at as a country is peaceful, harmonious coexistence that would only be made feasible when we have peaceful transition of power. And the civil society coalition saw this as an opportunity in 2021, if for the first time our current sitting president hands over power and is able to stay as a senior citizen in this country supporting that kind of transition. Now, what is wrong with this?
Henry,
and this is a constitutional
Henry
position.
Nixon, I'm the one that asks questions.
Yes,
here.
do.
Do you have a position on 102B and the amendment of it? Yes, you do.
Yes, we do.
What is your position?
As citizens and as a
as
coalition.
ActionAid, your position is Tojikwatako, right?
That's
Let's not use a lot of English here. You say don't amend it. Keep it the way it is.
Yes.
That is your position
Yes.
as ActionAid.
Yes.
Now you are still asking questions as to why the police picked interest in you.
Actually, that question...
No, wait a minute. You have that as a position. And you are not sitting back. You are acting on that position to facilitate those who are in the theater of action to stand firm. You are bankrolling them. You're facilitating them using all sorts of things, including media glitz and glamour. And you expect that the police is misunderstanding you. How so?
Now, I think this is where we get wrong. You cannot say that ActionAid is bankrolling the campaign.
That is the allegation.
That is allegation which is wrong. We have continued to do our work. We have continued to fund our work in the communities, in the different ways that we have been doing it.
Say that again. You have continued to fund your activities.
Yes.
To fund your activities.
Yes.
Among your activities being the agitation against the constitutional amendment.
Excuse me,
Isn't that called bankrolling?
That is a civil society campaign to which we belong. And if you are to check how much of money we put in there, you may hardly find anything. You see, to sit and have position, and you're talking about the media glamour, for civil society to come and sit together and issue a statement, how much money does it cost?
When you're running adverts on radio stations and TV stations, you take them out, do they run them for free?
Are you actually saying that you have had one which is funded by ActionAid? I doubt.
You mean you haven't, as the...
I doubt. So I think these are the kind of statements that are put there to raise anxieties and even hate against an institution that is actually supporting the poorest of the poor in this country.
Do you actually think that this
their
country,
livelihood,
let me ask,
some of
Nixon,
them, their critical livelihood depends on what ActionAid is doing.
Without a doubt, Nixon,
yes.
and no one has picked interest when you have sunk boreholes, built pit latrines, rehabilitated schools. The police has now picked, the state has picked interest when you begin to interfere in a realm that is an exclusivity.
But that's what we are saying.
Let me make my point here. That's an exclusivity of the parliamentarians. One is asking, and some people argue here that, are you as civil society thinking that this country is short of politicians to sort out the political question in this country? Or are you simply saying that politics is too serious to be left to politicians?
Exactly. You have answered what I wanted to say. That you see,
and therefore,
you see,
when you decide, when you think that the 11 players on the pitch are not enough for your team called Arsenal to win this game, and you choose to go on the pitch, and in the pitch you get tackled, as is the case with football, then you should not be listened to when you start crying foul, because in the first place you are not in the pitch.
What Ugandans,
as a bona fide player.
Ugandans are saying is,
do you speak for Ugandans?
There are voices of, yes, this is a Ugandan organization. No, listen.
Because see, the police can also claim they speak for Ugandans.
No.
The state claims also speak for Ugandans.
No.
So how many people speak for us?
I think we need to get...
Then we journalists also claim we speak for Ugandans. So who speaks for Ugandans?
We need to get this clear. When you are a Ugandan organization and a civil society organization, your General Assembly is composed of Ugandans. Your program is derived from the felt needs in the communities.
Of Ugandans.
And your board sits every quarter to review what you are doing.
And who composes your board?
Ugandans.
Then why are you affiliated? Now, what is the role of ActionAid International?
The role of ActionAid International...
It's brand name?
No. There are quality standards that make us actually a humanitarian organization, a development organization, a social justice organization.
A political organization.
Those qualities.
You're a humanitarian organization.
Those qualities.
A social justice organization.
That quality that you see in our work. That when we are actually talking about protection of a girl child, woman rights and all that, and empowerment, it comes from that affiliation, as a track record.
As a director in ActionAid,
yes.
Let me ask: is there ActionAid in the US?
Yes, there is.
Do you mind sharing with us their role during the last election in the US? Because we also saw that many United States citizens are not civically aware of their roles and responsibilities as especially voters. What was how much did ActionAid contribute to the discussion of politics in the US?
ActionAid in the US
is there ActionAid in the UK? How much was ActionAid involved in the Brexit discussions?
Now, what you're actually trying to do
is there ActionAid in France?
Is overstretching
no, I'm just
that
asking.
point. No, yes, you are asking, but also allow me to respond.
Thank you.
That each of those organizations, ActionAid in the US, works in the context of the US and works with the citizens and civil society in the US.
In the context of the US.
In the context.
Who determines the context of the US?
The citizens of
the state.
The citizens of US.
No, the state.
Yes, but let me tell you, while you're saying the state has got institutions.
So I want
and by the way, we respond.
I hope you respect the fact that the state here also can set the context of
True. And I am telling you, ActionAid is registered in Uganda by
the
a state agency that monitors it, that has been doing that, and we have not at any one point
deviated from it.
Not deviated. We haven't even deviated.
NGO board.
We have an interpretation right now of a deviation. It is not that we have an NGO board, and that perception needs to be corrected.
We have an NGO board, Nixon.
Yes.
Which some
NGO bureau.
Well,
yes.
There is also the board. Different people that sit on it.
Yes.
There's been talk that this board is actually put in place not so much to facilitate the smooth running of your activities, but to act as a roving big brother eye on whether or not you deviate from the very tenets for which you are registered. Have you had a challenge or realized that this board is being draconian in its adjudication of your activities?
We actually do think that with all due respect, with the transformations taking place in the Bureau, with the new law in place, that it has not been well facilitated to do its role well in terms of funding it, to have all its bureau offices up country running, monitoring, reporting, but also supporting the clear understanding of the role of NGOs in this country. In fact, as a matter of fact, many don't understand a day-to-day full impact of what civil society and NGO really do in this country. So that is for first to start from. Secondly, I wouldn't want to speculate whether the NGO bureau's role is just to stifle. However, the work of NGOs in this country. However, I can say that there's a barricade of a number of restrictive laws that are in place that actually make it more difficult for civic awareness, civic mobilization, civic actions, peaceful. But these are things that I can actually do attest to. And I think that in a developing democracy, there's a need to give space to citizens to air what they feel.
True.
Because that happened in the past where there was completely not allowing citizens to say anything. And that led to a lot of violence in this country. And that's the reason why 27 people went to the bush.
True.
And we don't want
is it also
for voices.
Is it far-fetched
yes.
for one to assume that yes, whereas there may have been stifling or whatever, but is it far-fetched for one to say that there has been regime changes in this world orchestrated and facilitated by forces from outside those polities working through non-government organizations?
My dear brother, I would just want to say that I think if there is anything I would put differently, that the strong democracies in the world have been built on a government and state that listens to its citizens and their demands and finds middle ground for sorting those out without violence. This is it. And those are the countries.
Are some of the examples, are you meaning Spain, for example?
No, I'm meaning, for instance, the United States has reached that level of understanding its citizens.
After how much violence? I think.
But I don't think we need to go back. Even as we have had violence, we are saying we don't need those violence of the 70s and the 80s.
Our violence pales in comparison to the violence that you've seen in the US.
Yes, I know. But I think that how far we have come, this country does not need violence at all.
I asked you,
yeah,
is it far-fetched for anyone to assume that we have had non-governmental organizations fomenting circumstances here, be they political or social, but with financing from negative forces from outside? And I'll give an example, not just regime change, but we have seen what we consider to be unnatural acts being purveyed and supported by non-governmental organizations here with funding from outside. We have seen even crime being supported under the guise of civil society organizations funded by criminal gangs outside. So people are asking, is it far-fetched for someone to pick interest in the activities of a non-governmental organization?
I think that question is good, but I would want to challenge where that question emanates from.
Please do.
The thing is, right now, is NGOs actually talking about a regime change? No. That is, first of all, one wrong thing that is being stated against civil society organizations. The Constitution is not about a regime that overthrow a government. No. That is one fact I want to put right.
Or maybe
secondly,
on that particular one, let's also not assume that you NGOs are that naive and lack sophistication to go saboratoring in the open. Some argue that you are very smart and act beneath the radar. It only takes a sophisticated counterpart to know that sometimes
I think that is the far-fetched question you were talking about. That fear.
What is Action Aid doing behind their gates?
Is really the wrong thing.
So now,
because
how did you come out therefore as Action Aid to come and say, come on guys, let's lay ourselves bare. This is what we are. Look inside our courts. Look inside our wallets. Look into
exactly.
This,
exactly.
we
Police came to Action Aid. Have you heard them say that
we
resisted anything?
And that's very commendable.
They got all information, electronic,
physical,
certified. We have recorded all statements. They have all records of our bank accounts.
And they have frozen.
Now, the thing is, I would want to add to that, that even when you talk about the NGO Bureau requesting for the information,
you still get
Action Aid is the only one that has complied with all that. No, wait, I want to finish this.
Please.
The thing is that there is time when you want to break the atom.
Split it.
To split it, to find. And that is exactly what the state is doing. Read Action Aid and understand it from the Action Aid you know. You know, you start from where you know. Action Aid you know from 1982 in this country that has stood with the citizens of this country, with the government, with non-government systems for the good of the country.
True that.
That is where we should start from. Then you move to the Action Aid that is, what are its missions across the world? Have you found Action Aid in those kind of things that is being talked about?
I guess,
so that is
Nixon,
to me,
time is not an ally on our side on this program right now. I believe that since you are compliant and supportive to the law enforcement that came your way and provided them all the information, let's wait for their judgment, and then we have the conversation when they come up with their verdict. But as we conclude, how do you intend to progress to continue to do this otherwise very good work in a circumstance where your finances are stifled? And of course, I want to believe the morale of your workers has also been tampered with, because of course some of them begin now to also fear for their lives. I mean, can you imagine one day you're in the office, police take siege, 2 days you're in there, perhaps to a large extent incommunicado. This has a way it affects even the psychological setup of your officers.
True.
How do you intend to progress going forward?
Well, I think the impact of what we are going through is not just within the organization, is within the civil society terrain. That's care. But also, there are people at the tail end for whom we actually work that are suffering. There are children, for instance, whose fees come from Action Aid's work. There are people whose daily livelihood, and even whose protection, like women in women protection shelters. Yeah. They are actually facing it. They are much more than us who are staff. So we do think that the ministries, agencies, and departments of government need to rethink if those who have roles in this, and quickly bring this investigation to a conclusion so that the good work continues. And when they don't, are you going to seek legal redress? Oh, there is a lot of things that we are thinking about, not just as us. There's a fraternity of Action Aid in the world. There's a fraternity of Action Aid in the country, because it goes back to even the citizens themselves. Legal, we have to challenge some of this, because you see, we just cannot see it go on when nothing is really happening. So you're taking government, but we are also looking at engagements with actually state institutions. We have been doing this. We are talking to police management. We are talking to NGO Bureau. We are seeking for to meet the minister that is in charge of our operations to check on this. We are looking at such. As that goes on, you are also going to go to court. We are not ruling that out, because this action is, first of all, is through going to court to get the powers to like close a bank account. True. But that court is that we have suspicions, can we close? You know, where it takes us to like the French law, where you are first deemed a criminal before you are actually tried. Venerated. And that is very challengeable, and we would want to challenge some of those things in court, because we have complied. But even when we have complied and there's serious suffering of the citizens, I think their voices, we should listen to them.
Henry Nixon Ogwal, Fundraising Director, Action Aid Uganda. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. At least we learned quite a lot from your submissions this morning. You extrapolate the role of Action Aid. You demystify the whole negative notion that you are involved in divisive politics, but rather you are very much engaged in humanitarian activities, civic awareness in terms of human rights and the like. But you have also been involved in this country for many years, since 1982. You did share with us, of course, the predicament of operating with open premises but closed bank accounts. But importantly, you conclude by telling us that you will not sit back and watch all this injustice being meted unto you. You, together with the fraternity that is both international and local, you will certainly seek legal and other redress so that at least you can be put back on the right rail as you have been to continue operating in this country. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you too.
For the viewers, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. As is always the case, let's take a breather. When we return, it's more quality programming on Morning at NTV. Have a good day.